this, don't you? You're always checking. So call me. Wherever you are, I'll come get you, take you back to the party. Nobody's leaving. They're all too excited. I'm sorry I told you tonight. I was just so proud of you. So proud for you. But I should have waited. I just forgot. I forgot how it feels. How I felt. How betrayed I felt. And embarrassed. Such a fool. But I forgot. I only wanted you to be free. Liberated. So just hear me out. And then if you want, I'll never bother you again. I swear. I came here for the same reason you did. I worshipped him. His work, I mean, even though mine was nothing like his. But if I could just be near him to catch his passion, witness the master at work. And I got my wish. And the hell that came along with it. I never told you this, but he was a total shit. I was a servant, not an assistant. I know you think I'm a tough asshole bitch, but he invented tough. And asshole. He found glee in saddling me with menial tasks of buckets and mops and washing the walls of the farmhouse. He wouldn't let me watch him paint. I was cleaning toilets until he was ready to take a break. I had to swear not to look at a painting until it was finished, or, God forbid, touch his jars of paint. At the end of the day, he would let me clean his brushes, scrape his palettes, and while I never looked at his precious jars, I certainly looked at the canvases. It was the only way to learn. I spent the last hours of daylight on my own work. Sometimes he would look, scoff, shake his head, dismissing whatever I thought I was doing with my boring little paintings. If I was lucky, he might deign to say something like, "You think too much. Let the paint take you there." Sound familiar? Let the paint take you there. Still, I would leave a finished painting on my table, hoping, praying for a response. Of course, the next day it would be on the floor facing the wall or tossed into a corner. I vowed never to treat anybody like that, and you know I haven't. I was working exclusively with primary colors. You know that series, the ones in the magazine. I used the paint directly from the tube. All his colors he mixed and kept in little jars with tight lids. Colors were mysterious, magical. Never seen anywhere except on his canvases. Colors from heaven or from hell. He was alone when he died. I found him. Even though he never said a kind word, I was lost. I didn't know what to do, where to go. So I sort of squatted. I figured eventually somebody would take my keys and throw me out. I didn't touch his side of the studio. I still pictured him working at his table or standing in front of the easel. I didn't want to lose that. I found a half-empty jar of paint, uncapped, a layer of dried paint skin at the top. It was a warm brown, the last color he used. I found the cap under a chair and twisted it in place. I left it on his work table, enshrining what I imagined to be a great artist's last moment of creation. I kept up my work with the primary colors. No black lines to separate, just color to color, battling it out. At first the colors would rush at each other, attacking, then retreating, never mingling, retaining their own identity. A riotous red might encroach on a simmering blue and then glance off and leave a blank space as it flowed back to its corner. Someday, those blank spaces would need my attention, but not yet. I was excited by the work. but I was just as excited to leave this haunted studio and turn on his old tea kettle in this cozy farmhouse. I was playing house and playing artist for a few weeks when his agent showed up. I figured she was there to boot me out, but no, she just came for any paintings or sketchbooks that the estate could monetize. She asked, did I want to stay there till the heirs figured out what to do with the property? The family wanted it occupied. They weren't interested in rent. And I didn't mention I was already living there. She walked around the studio, boxing up brushes and jars and sketchbooks, but mainly to breathe the same air he had breathed. She picked up the jar of brown paint and immediately put it back down on the table. Maybe it occurred to her, too, that it immortalized a final moment. She broke the awkward silence by asking to see what I was working on. She was just being polite. She and her uptown gallery were big pants. I was nobody. I pulled out a canvas. I couldn't read her reaction, but she asked to see the rest. She lined them up against the wall, and then she extended her hand, and I could see that she was pointing at the unpainted sections. What do they mean? The blank spaces, she said. Are you going to paint them? White or black, maybe? Her question caught me off guard. I said I didn't know, not mentioning. I thought they were finished. Let me know what you decide, she said. I'd like to see them when they're done. And then she picked up the jar of paint and tossed it to me. Was this a question or a suggestion? Maybe they weren't finished. When she was gone, I opened the jar and stirred the brown back to life. Did I dare use the paint of the master? Why not? His agent had granted permission. I took a small new brush and daubed the color in short, quick strokes into the blank spaces. The warm color laughed at the chilly world of my swirling, warring primaries. When I was finished filling in all the voids, I stood back and looked. The painting took on a power. My reds, blues, and yellows were emerged from a river of molten earth. The war became an orgy of colors gleefully swimming in the same current. The effect was dizzying. You can't tell from the magazine photographs. You have to see the actual paintings. I had to finish the rest, but the jar was empty, so I mixed my own brown. I selected another canvas and filled in the blank spaces with careful, long, strong strokes soaked in the muddy concoction. It might be the color of the Mississippi, but it didn't flow. It lay flat on the canvas. No molten earth, no motion. I mixed and remixed. All was failure. His agent showed up, unexpected and unannounced, asking to see the work. I showed her the one painted with molten earth. She stared for about 200 years. I expected the usual, interesting, thanks for sharing. And then she turned and smiled and asked when I would finish the others. She wanted to show them. My heart was in my throat. What could I say? That the work needed the master's paint? That I couldn't mix my own paint? She saw my exposed inadequacy. The same hopelessness I saw in you. I can't finish them. It was his paint. And then I choked up. I should have left the paint for you. It's of no use to me. I'll bring it back. And she did. That same day. Dozens of half-filled jars of color. When she was gone, I picked up a jar and felt its power. Its power. See, I felt it too. You're not alone. It only took one jar to fill in all the blank spaces of the entire primary color series. And then I began anew. New canvases, new series. Short, quick brushstrokes. For once, not overthinking or even thinking. I barely stopped to eat. I painted until the jars were exhausted. Paintings that painted themselves, that owed their existence to the colors of the master. I was in a daze when the agent, suddenly my agent, took my paintings. All of them. My first show, a huge success. But I would never be able to deliver another series because the paint was gone. And then she told me his jars of paint, dumped and washed the day she took them from the studio. The paint she brought me, squeezed from tubes by the agent into jars retrieved from the recycling bin. Tubes she bought at Hobby Lobby or Michael's or Target. There was no magic paint. All the magic came from me. How she grinned when she said it. I felt such a fool, a laughing stock. I fled. I was never going to talk to her again. I was never going to paint again. Until I picked up a brush to throw across the room, but instead opened a tube of paint and painted. And a picture of motion and emotion asserted itself on my canvas. I was free. I didn't need magic brown paint. The magic was in me. Just like it's in you. I'm sorry I fooled you. I'm sorry I told you tonight. But I'm not sorry about your show or your success or the amazing work you're going to produce. And I'm not sorry that there's no such thing as magic paint. Call me. I want to take you back to the gallery. There are people who want to toast you.